dying star gives off a lot of energy. Can you collect the most? This week with Kylie's Pick. Hey there folks, Kylie at Games Unlimited. This week, I want to tell you about Supernova. This is by local designer Zach Horton, and it's an abstract strategy game for 2 to 4 players, actually plays best with more, and it's about collecting energy from a dying star. Your civilization needs energy. This star is about to go supernova, and you've been sent out on actually a suicide mission. You've sort of wormholed in. You're going to use your ships to collect the energy that's coming out of the sun. It's going to eventually explode, but you're able to send this energy back through the wormhole to help power your civilization. You can also use that energy to power your ships. So you've got this spiral board. One of the things that the designer really wanted to do with this is have an abstract game that really plays with orbital mechanics. So there's this spiral board around the sun. And every turn, the gravity of the sun, you are orbiting the sun. So you're going to be moving closer and closer in as you spiral into the sun. You don't have a choice. Every round, a card's going to come out. It's going to tell you how many spaces each of your ships is going to move around the spiral, circling in. But you can use energy to power your ships, to move them away, actually speed them up, or to shift orbits. That's where so much of the interesting abstract thinking comes in, because you're going to want to shift to a higher orbit. If your ship is in danger of actually getting sucked into the sun and destroyed, instead of using that energy to move backwards, you can use some energy to shift to a higher orbit. And that way you have a little bit more time as you get sucked closer to the sun. But you might want to be close to the sun, because when this star puts off energy cubes, which you're trying to collect, the person in the front is going to have the first chance to collect those energy cubes. So maybe you want to shift to a lower orbit and get sucked closer to the star. So there's this real balancing act that you have to do, because being close to the star means you get first dibs on the energy, but it also means you are at a higher risk of getting sucked into the star and destroyed. Now, I mentioned this plays much like an abstract strategy game. You have 4 ships, and if you can set them up in certain patterns, you're going to get special abilities. So absorbing the white cubes that you can use to power your ships, that's no problem. They go through you, you'll absorb them, it's great. But those aren't actually worth points at the end of the game. As the game goes on, the star is going to emit these yellow energy cubes. Those are worth points, and you can use them to power your ships, but you have to have a certain formation of ships in order to collect those. And then eventually, the red cubes comes out, and those red cubes are worth a lot of points, but they also destroy your ship when you collect them, unless you have made a certain pattern. You can also set your ships up to shield each other, so that if other players try to move through you, they can't do that. So it's all in the service of having to think in spirals, having to think about orbital mechanics. It's not as intuitive as it might seem, and it's not as intuitive as other abstract strategy games where you're just moving on a pretty flat grid. This one, you really have to be thinking. These cards are going to come up. You know a couple rounds in advance what the sun's going to do, but you have to really think, okay, if my ships move this way, how can I move them around? It's made all the more difficult by the fact that you can't power all of your ships at once. So you have 4 ships. They're all going to get sucked towards the star, but you can only power 1, 2, or 3 of them, depending on how much you want to do with each ship. So that is Supernova. This is a very interesting game. If you like abstract strategy games, if you want something that's really just going to make you think differently, force you to think differently that you can go deep on, I definitely recommend picking up Supernova. I'm Kylie at Games Unlimited. Come on down, take a copy home, and unbox some fun.